So I'm going to call you out. I'm getting one of those cans. I'm going to rip that label off, encourage people to buy made in Ontario, made in Canada soup.
Mark Carney's been absolutely backed into a corner. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today, the Americans are testing Mark Carney's loyalty to Palestine. What is going to happen? We also have Doug Ford going on a full-blown rant about Campbell's soup. Let's jump into this. We got this one here. Earn less than $135K. Habitat for Humanity says you might qualify for its help. Habitat for Humanity is stepping up its game to help people struggling to get into the housing market. What do we even say to this? This is crazy. Like as Table Salt says, your housing is so expensive in Canada. Now you can qualify for Charity House if you make less than $125K, twice the average income in Canada. It used to be $40K. Thought I'd briefly touch on this one. So Eva Cpac, the Freedom Convoy lawyer, she says she's at the Alberta Next panel. This is Danielle Smith's panel where they talk about all sorts of things to essentially make Alberta more sovereign, aka detached from Canada, a provincial police force, a bunch of stuff like that. And as she mentions here, it's disheartening to see how emotionally charged things have become and how difficult it is for people to have a mature and respectful conversation. Public trust is clearly broken, and I don't think this is the right forum for people to express their concerns and frustrations. I saw a video from the previous one, and people just get up and start ranting about anything and everything at these forums. And so, yeah, she's right. Like, people are not talking specifically about these issues, and they're just angry about whatever's most troubling in their life.
They were defunded by the federal government. They were defunded by the federal government. The federal government was paying for them for the last 3 years and they defunded them.
Yeah, it's chaos. I mean, you just hear people yelling and just...
Yellow fever shots are paid out of pocket. There are lots of different types of that are paid for out of pocket. We've got them right now. I have zero vaccinations from.
Yeah, it's just becoming unhinged and unruly. Yeah, they need a different way to handle this. Got this one here. New investigation has revealed that the Liberal government spent $170,000, take a breath here, to bring 8 ISIS brides, I don't know if I can say this word, we're going to call them ice cream brides from now on, to Canada from Syria and set them up in hotels with taxpayer-funded junk food and wine. This is not a fake story. This is coming from Global News. We've got the story right here. Canadian ice cream women. So it says here ice cream, candy, and wine. The money was for costs incurred when 8 women who traveled to the Middle East to join the Islamic State returned to Canada with their children in 2022 and 2023. The newly released documents show Global Affairs Canada paid for business class flights, stays at Montreal Airport Marriott, room service, chips, chocolate bars, and Timbits. One hotel room cost over $1,000 for 2 nights because of the $95 wine tab. Another ran up at $850 with charges for junk food and $25 for red, white, and sparkling wines. The cost included $2,800 for catering, $24 sandwiches at the Hotel Bijou's restaurant bar, and $86 worth of snack food and over-the-counter pharmaceutical candy at the hotel gift shop. The expense reports chronicle room service meals for more than $100, books, clothing, travel bags, Canadian pins, and a high-value token of appreciation purchased at Best Buy. A server pocketed a $7 tip for serving 2 $4 teas according to the expense reports, which also document purchases Doritos, Aero, caramel bars. The expenses are for both women and children as well as government staff sent to receive them when they landed in Montreal before carrying on to their home provinces. Why? Well, why? The women were living in BC, Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec when they left to go live under ice cream, which has seized a swath of Syria and Iraq and launched a campaign of poppin' tops, noggins, and attacks in the West. As ice cream fell, Kurdish fighters backed by international coalition, the Canadian women were captured and held with their children for several years at crowded detention camps in Syria. The federal government agreed to bring them back to Canada after their families launched a challenge in federal court in Ottawa demanding their return. They went over there. Why do we have to rescue them? They chose to go there. That's their consequences to deal with. Why are we paying this? At the very least, we saved them. They racked up huge bills. Now they get to pay us back with interest. That is the only thing that's acceptable here, because I'm sure as heck not paying for their wine and candy bars and fancy hotels. And I know all of you are not wanting to pay for that either. Global News requested the documents. They finally got it 2 years later. This money has to be paid back. This is so absurd. Why are we saving people who chose to go somewhere dangerous? It's not our responsibility. You make stupid decisions, you have to live with those consequences. Got quite the story here. It says Rubio pushed to label Muslim Brotherhood a terror lord group, tests Carney's Palestinian statehood stance.
Whether the prophet is called Ibrahim or Abraham, Ishmael or Isaac, the lessons and values of Eid are the same.
So Marco Rubio, Trump administration, says here, Prime Minister Mark Carney's surprise recognition of the Palestinian state still reverberating in Washington. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's pledge this week of an ongoing legal work to designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terror lord organization sets up a direct test of whether Ottawa will align with its closest ally on transnational movement, long tied by American lawmakers to chips and hummus financing, radicalization, and political subversion, or risk deepening a posture critics say panders to an influential Islamist diaspora base in Canada's largest cities.
The values of community, of generosity, and yes, of sacrifice.
All of that is in the works, Rubio told a reporter, referencing legislation on terror designations advanced by the House of Judiciary Committee in June. The push follows 2018 congressional hearing in which lawmakers and expert witnesses drew lines between chips and hummus and the Palestinian cause and the Brotherhood. What will Mark Carney do? Considering this photo here taken from that event where he said, Muslim values are Canadian values. I think we know which side he aligns with, and it's not with us. It's not with Canada and America. It's with his overseas friends.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
Moving ahead here, with Mark Carney announcing his full support for Palestine and them being a state, we've got this. This town of Côte Saint-Luc passes resolution opposing Carney's plan. They're not going along with it. They don't want to recognize Palestine.
The city of Côte Saint-Luc has passed a resolution. It opposes the federal government's plan to recognize a Palestinian state. The Carney government has said it will recognize Palestinian statehood in the United Nations in September. The resolution in Côte Saint-Luc says without a comprehensive peace agreement, Canada is rewarding violence and legitimizing extremism.
Look at this. Prime Minister Carney is rewarding the word and legitimizing extremism. This is what's coming from this town.
Well, we feel it's premature to vote in favor of a Palestinian state without all the conditions being met, releasing the hostages, ensuring that a terrorist organization is not the person that we're negotiating with for that future state.
But maybe that's what Mark Carney wants. That's why he recognized them.
Totally premature. And we are sensitive here in Côte Saint-Luc. We've lost people. I mean, Alex Look was an individual, a friend of our family who was killed on October 7th at the festival, the music festival. And we have a park in his honor. And we just feel very close to this situation.
CTV News contacted the Prime Minister's office for reaction to this, but we have not received a response.
Of course you haven't. He's not going to respond to anything. Carney's worse than Trudeau. Next up, we got a video from Gaza showing this hummus crowd here have looted aid trucks. They loot up to, by UN's own admission, 85 to 89% of the trucks with aid. So you wonder who's the real problem here. It's the monsters who steal all the aid. The chips and hummus crowd. Yet Mark Carney wants to recognize Palestine and reward these people who steal aid from the people who are starving and hungry. Next up, we got Doug Ford blowing an absolute gasket over Campbell soup. This is not a joke.
If I have to put a Canadian flag and every other flag on every single product and legislate it until the consumer can see that you aren't pulling the wool over their eyes, because that's what they're doing, and I still have to get a can of Campbell soup that's putting that Canadian flag on, that's not being manufactured here, misleading the people, and getting it produced in Camden, New Jersey. The can, the label, the stuff inside, and do you know what they put? Recipe of Canada. You think the people of Ontario are that dumb? Like, I'm gonna call you out. I'm getting one of those cans. I'm gonna rip that label off and encourage people to buy made in Ontario, made in Canada soup. And maybe what you should do is bring back your manufacturing facility that you closed down in Etobicoke and got rid of hundreds of people. But I just can't stand sneaky companies that do stuff like that.
I believe the saying is game recognizes game. Come on, Doug, you're a sneaky politician yourself. So first off, I mean, that's ridiculous. Recipe of Canada, that's absurd. Second, if he's going to do an announcement like this, he has to name what Canadian soup companies there are. You can't just do this halfway. Like, you're going to do a job, do it right. So I'm going to help Doug Ford out here. First off, out of Quebec, we've got Elmer Soup, Canadian soup company. We've got Sprague Soup in Ontario, organic soup. I've had some of these. I got this one in my cupboard right now, really tasty. I don't really like soup all that much, but it's pretty good. Got this one here, Perth Soup Company, also Canadian. You can see here, southwest of Ottawa. And we've got Toronto Soup Company, obviously based out of Toronto. There you go, Doug. If you're going to call out Campbell's, then offer some alternatives. Got this one here, the House of Commons hit with cyber attack from threat actor coming from an internal email. The threat actor is not the one we've been seeing for many years.
The question is not, why does Justin Trudeau suddenly not love his country? Because the question is ridiculous. I live this country in my bones every breath I take, and I'm not going to stand here and somehow defend that I actually do love Canada, because we know I love Canada.
This guy is so full of crap.
The rule of law, of the rights of the individuals, of freedom. Freedom from...
This guy's such a con man. What an absolute clown. It's been a minute since we've had Trudeau on the show.
Fear, freedom from crime.
Freedom from crime. This guy brought in the crime. It's a crime that he was ever prime minister. Okay, back to our article here. So cybercrime, got the House of Commons and Canada's Cyber Security Agency are investigating a significant data breach caused by an unknown threat actor. The House of Commons alerted staff on Monday that there was an information breach. It said a malicious actor was able to exploit a recent Microsoft vulnerability to gain unauthorized access to a database containing information used to manage computers and mobile devices. Now, more importantly, what did they steal? Well, according to this, they stole employee names, job titles, office locations, email addresses, as well as information regarding the House of Commons managed computer and mobile devices. Once again, the government just doing an awful job. They can't protect us. They can't even protect themselves. Next up, we got David Eby here saying BC will be the leader in a global shift to clean energy. That's why we're investing $35 million through the clean PC industry to help companies adopt clean technologies, cut emissions, and create local jobs. This is nonsense. This Clean BC program has just been a money laundering scheme. It's a scam. The second most watched video on my channel was that Edison Motors video, where Edison Motors tried to get a grant through this, creating a hybrid electric diesel logging truck. And the company that administers these grants, MNP, they denied their grant and then told them they would write the grant for them and then take 20% of the grant money. It's a money laundering scheme. They're not creating anything but a big sack of cash for them to take home at the end of the day. Another green slush fund. That's what it is. They should be in jail for what they're doing. Whoever's involved in that MNP scam. Josie Osborne refused to take questions from Chase at Edison Motors after this all blew up. They kicked him out of the Clean BC event as a speaker. These guys are thieves. Money laundering. What a goof. Going to add it to the climate scam and the street candy fund. You're a criminal. This is looting and self-sabotage. You guys have to get NDP out. Moving ahead, we've got this one here. Look at this. Halifax wildfire was human-caused. Nova Scotia government confirms. And what are they doing about that? $100,000 fine? 10 years in jail? Or just nothing? Are they just going to find the people that go for hikes in the woods and not the arsonists?
In Halifax, officials confirmed yesterday an active fire was caused by humans. In the past 24 hours, crews in Nova Scotia have responded to at least 17 wildfires. Brett Ruskin is back in Halifax, going to be tracking the Nova Scotia story. The fires, that human-caused fire, Brett, you've been reporting on that, but they've been doing some further investigation. What new details do we have?
Yeah, good morning, Heather. Another dry day here in Halifax. And so this fire, again, near the shopping center, near the Bayers Lake Shopping Center here in Halifax, has been knocked down substantially in size as a result of crews on the ground, water bombers in the air that flew in from New Brunswick, and that fire is now being held. So the evacuation order for those couple of businesses in the area is still in place, but there is good news there.
So they just go on and on and on giving little details about the fire. They don't talk about the arsonist at all. It is sad. Like, where's Tim Houston now saying, we're going to find this person, we're going to stick them in jail for the next 20 years. He's nowhere to be found, but he wants to prosecute. He wants to make sure that those hikers and those dog walkers have to pay up. There's 12 of them that have been dinged with a $28,000 fine, and they better pay up. What a joke. Moving ahead, housing starts are falling. What is Mark Carney going to do? Modular homes, prefabricated. Is that the solution?
Data suggests despite efforts to get more homes built, there are actually fewer projects on the horizon. The federal government campaigned in part on easing the housing crisis. Kate McKenna now on where those promises stand.
A key priority for Mark Carney during the election, building more homes.
There simply aren't enough homes, so housing is just too expensive. It doesn't have to be this way.
But new data shows the federal government has a long way to go. In May and June, residential construction intentions dropped 15%.
Most of the decline is in lower mainland BC and the GTA. And what's happened in those two environments is that home prices and rents have fallen.
Experts say it all comes down to math.
Yeah, no kidding. It comes down to math. I thought Gregor Robertson was going to solve this problem. I thought he was so smart, he would just step right in and fix the housing crisis, the one he caused in Vancouver.
We've reached a point at which the costs are so high relative to prices, it's just no longer economically viable to build most forms of housing.
These figures come after Ontario reported it is not on track to meet its housing target of 1.5 million homes built by 2031. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says they want to get more built, but municipalities play a big role.
If you want to build, you will build. And then there's some, I won't name names, they're NIMBYs. And they're the first to get out there and say, we need more homes. Oh, by the way, you aren't building in our backyard. You aren't building in our neighborhood.
The federal housing minister wasn't available for an interview, but
Of course he wasn't. Probably too busy at his vacation home in Tofino. The amount of bureaucracy involved in a house, the red tape, all of the city costs is out of control. There should be hardly any city costs. All these permits and all this nonsense. Can I build a house here, please? Oh, that'll be $50,000. How about a walkway up to my house? Oh, that's another $50,000. How about a fence? $50,000. That's not even to build this stuff. Just the permit to do this stuff. Those aren't actual numbers, but you get what I mean. Just wasteful money. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars in Vancouver just for permitting to build a house. Not building the house, just for the paperwork from these buffoons.
But Prime Minister Mark Carney has committed to build nearly 500,000 homes annually and slash development fees.
We need to see some response here to get the developers off the sideline and the shovels in the ground.
The Conservatives say Ottawa's previous efforts to move the needle, including giving money to cities to fast-track development, didn't work.
That program was an abject failure. I mean, they gave millions of dollars to cities that then turned around and increased their costs for building.
This week, Ottawa announced consultations on its plan to create a new housing crown corporation. But with targets slipping and costs climbing, the federal government is under mounting pressure to make good on its commitments.
One of those promises like 2 billion trees. Yeah, like one of those promises.